All right. Hello, everyone. We have a big group here. Let's see, just give everybody a few minutes to jump in. All right. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Padgington, and I'm the sales director here at Checkpoint EHR. And thank you all for joining us today for our webinar titled The Top 7 Reasons Claims Get Denied and What You Can Do About It. So very excited. We're delighted to have Jeremy Zug, the CEO and founder of Practice Solutions, with us to share his insights. He is a premier billing partner with us, so we are very excited to have him and hear what he has to say. Some housekeeping items. So before we dive in, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. First, everyone is muted. That's going to minimize the background noise, but we encourage you to turn on your cameras so we can see your smiling faces, of course. We'll have a Q&A session after the presentation, so please jot down any questions you have as we go along. And a recording of this webinar will be available after we all finish, so we can revisit information at your convenience, of course. And you'll see the little Q&A button at the bottom there of your screen. Feel free to use it at any time during the presentation. So joining me today is my co-host and moderator, Katie Fournier, who is our Director of Customer Success and Operations at Checkpoint. And together we are here to support you as we learn from Jeremy today. So super excited. So a little bit about Checkpoint, sort of who we are, so you kind of know who else is here on this call today and why you jumped on our, not just to see Jeremy, of course, we're something special too, right? Of course. So now let's talk about who we are at Checkpoint. So we've been in business for about 20 years. We pride ourselves in being a partnership first organization. So we take our partnerships very seriously rather than being just a vendor driven or our primary focus is building strong collaborative relationships with our clients. So our platform was built by therapists for therapists, so drawing from real world experiences in behavioral health workflows. And the concept behind Checkpoint EHR is to reduce complexity, enabling you to scale your organization efficiently. And so how we do that, how do we support you? Well, our platform is designed with simplicity, scalability, and real world experience in mind. So we offer automated claim submission to keep everything easy from start to finish. Our robust reporting tools help you track your progress and make informed decisions. And you'll have dedicated success partners to guide you through the onboarding process and beyond, ensuring that you have someone to turn to with any questions that you might have during the process. So our user-friendly design makes it intuitive to navigate. We're continuously innovating. We recently have introduced our AI-assisted documentation to further simplify our workflows. And additionally, we operate on a revenue-based model that includes unlimited users, which means you won't face any clearinghouse fees. We also provide a client portal, appointment reminders to enhance your service delivery as well. And we're really excited to be here with you today and look forward to sharing any valuable insights. So with that being said, and without further ado, I would love to introduce to you Jeremy Zug, the CEO and founder of Practice Solutions. Take it away.
Hey, thanks, Stacy, and hey, everybody. Glad you're here. I'm Jeremy Zug. I'm Stacy mentioned, the CEO and founder of Practice Solutions. I'm sharing my presentation here. Our whole goal is to ensure your survival and make sure you thrive through revenue assurance. We do that. Practices turn up when they are unclear about claims. They want to stop biller turnover. They want to audit their practice, or they need online tools and training and resources to help scale and advance their practices. So that's just a 20-second about us. But let's dive in, because this is the real meat and potatoes of why we're here. You all can see this, yes? Probably?
Yep,
Great.
good to go.
So what are the most common denial reasons? So here are the top 7 in the country denial reasons that you have. And these denial reasons all have something in common that we'll get to in a minute. But basically, if you have a large-scale private practice, or if you're just starting out, you're going to encounter these 7 at some point in your career if you take insurance. If you're not insurance-based, you don't worry about these, but insurance-based practices deal with these all the time. So we have duplicate claims, and missing and incomplete information. Right now, most of you are dealing with coordination of benefit issues. Quarter 1 is ripe with those. Timely filing, hopefully with Checkpoint, none of you are encountering that, but that is still a top denial reason. Invalid prior auth bundling, which is more applicable, not in mental health, but for medical-based practices, and then medical necessity. So how do claim denials happen? What is the root cause, the engine behind denials? So denials happen as a result of either you or your, you see these every day, perfect. I won't read every comment, but that's a good one. Denials happen as a result of moving too fast. We neglect payment posting and aging follow-up activity, not following a standard process. That's what I'm going to talk to all of you about today, is following a process of revenue cycle management that actually fixes quite a few of these. We have misplaced incentives, inadequate training, biller turnover. This is a big one. This one applies to Checkpoint. Lack of experience in your EHR. You cannot just implement an EHR in the life of your organization and expect that to be the magic wand to fix all of your billing issues. You have to know how to use your EHR, where to go to find reports, what's the workflow look like, and every EHR is different.
Jeremy, I don't think you're sharing anymore. And you're muted.
Give it just a second, guys. I think I need to flip him back into presenter. Cool. All right.
Sorry about that, folks. Thanks, Katie. Yeah. All right. So at any rate, those are the reasons why denials happen. Let's talk about the path of a clean claim really quick. This is how a claim gets to payment, right? So you have a progress note. Please do your progress notes. I know a lot of you are leading teams, and that can be sort of like pulling teeth to get notes done, but we really need clean notes to stay ethical and compliant with our contracts. Then you submit the claim, right? And we hear this from practices all the time, right? I can do billing. It's easy to submit a claim. That's true. Submitting a claim, or in Checkpoint's case, it just goes out, which is really, really nice. It's a great feature. But that's not all that encompasses billing. A clearinghouse then repackages that claim, because insurance companies don't look at claim forms. They look at lines of data, and they scrub those claims to make sure there are no errors. They kick them back. That's known as a rejection. Or they send them on to the insurance company for processing. And then payment or denial happens. So that's the roadmap to a clean claim. So claim submission is not your first line of defense. And this next slide is really the 5 mm shift. All of you, if you could implement one thing from this webinar today, this week, this month, would fix a lot of your denial issues. So this is revenue cycle management powered by Practice Solutions. If you look up revenue cycle management, you Google that, you're going to find credentialing and patient registration are somewhere in the mix in no particular order. And then usually organizations jump right to claim submission. And that, I think, is where the fundamental mistake happens in the life of a lot of practices. Here's what I want you to do. This is the 5 mm shift. You obviously have to be credentialed. We all know that. You have to take in patient information, check. Then you have an eligibility and benefit check. And that's really important, right? That, especially that first one. I know that there are a lot of tools that scrape eligibility and benefit information right off the top. And sometimes those are accurate and sometimes they're not. I recommend for that first one, unless you know the plan inside and out, that you call or find another way to make sure you have the right benefits instead of like an auto E&B feature. And then this is where it's going to get a little controversial. We're going to go from E&B immediately to payment posting. And here's why. Payment posting, where ERAs come into your EHR or you get a paper EOB, that's where the real work of billing happens. What you can do there is you can document denials there. You can adjust patient amounts in that stage. You can make sure you record any issues with claims at that point in the process so that you're not going from E&B to claim submission on a dirty claim, as it were, right? The top denial reason in our country is duplicate claim submission. That's not a real denial, right? It is, but it isn't. A duplicate claim is I'm just submitting claim after claim on the same denial and I'm not resolving anything. So you're just spinning your wheels. And then you build up some time debt where you have to roll that back and then fix the original denial. I don't want you to have to roll anything back. I want your teams to go immediately to payment posting, document all the issues in payment posting. Then you can go to aging follow-up, touch all of your aging claims to make sure it's all in motion and in progress. Appeals are moving. You're talking to the insurance company. You're making actual progress. And then you get to claim submission. And I know that's a lot of work. Like some of you are thinking, wow, Jeremy, that is a lot of prep to get ready for claim submission. And it is. I totally understand that. But all the work you're doing before claim submission ensures that you know the claims you submit the first time are actually clean, they're good, they're going to go through, and you're not submitting, or in some cases, resubmitting claims that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt are going to get denied time and time again. So what is the impact of this procedural change in the life of your billing department? The cost of rework, and this is really, really important. So we hear this question a lot. Claim submission is the click of a button, right? Well, clean claims, like perfect claims, require more work up front, but much less work in the long run. And there's a study done, and you can find the Availity article there. It's linked. But the cost to rework a claim denial is around $25. Now, I'm going to assume a lot of us here are in mental health, behavioral health, and I know that you know your rates. I also know that $25 out of a lot of your rates is sort of a bite out of that apple. So $25 to rework a single claim denial is a huge investment, and it takes roughly 71 minutes to rework a single denial. Appealing a denied claim costs around $118, and that data was by Crow LLP, and we cite that there. So preventing denials up front means shorter time to payment, which we all love, and less work on the back end for your biller, which as a billing company with a small army of billers, we have roughly 35 billers across the country. We love that. That's a good one. But then you turn your billing department into this well-oiled financial engine that is revenue generating instead of them constantly chasing revenue. And you know what else that does for the rest of you? You don't have clinician complaints. You can sleep well at night. You know your claims are much cleaner. You can document appeals faster. You can track trends easier. You can get KPIs a lot faster instead of a frantic, coffee-induced billing department that is frenzied in their work, but they're following a process that you then can control the inputs and the outputs on. So let's just do some quick math. Some of you are math people, some of you are numbers people. Let's look at it, and 51, I would think for a lot of us here is okay. I mean, I think a lot of us are probably hitting that. So 50 claims in 1 month. That first submission is 5 minutes, right? This is the billing is easy, right? I can submit a claim all day long. But then you have second submissions for, let's say you get 20% of your claims are denied. That's another 5 minutes. But then fixing 10 duplicate claims is 10 hours or more of active follow-up time, time on the phone, and it could be weeks to resolution or payment. And then payment posting is the more duplicates you get, the longer it takes your biller to sort that out, right? So let's say you have 3 or 4 duplicate claim denials. Well, they're going to have to follow the bouncing ball from their current duplicate claim denial to the next one, all the way back to the original. And that's a ton of time that I don't think, well, I definitely don't want you spending that kind of time trying to fix claim denials. Versus if, let's say, claims are not denied, right? You have 50 claims in a single month. Again, that's a decent amount of volume. Hopefully you're doing a lot more than that. But your first submission, let's say it takes you 4 hours to submit a claim because your biller is following this process from payment posting, aging follow-up, really diligent eligibility and benefit check, and they know they're going to submit a clean claim. Let's say it's 4 hours up front, but there's no denial for follow-up claims, and then payment posting is 2 hours. You have to sink some time investment into this process, but at least you're not sunk 10 plus hours deep per denial because you have a process that is disheveled and disorganized, right? If you have a very clear way of doing billing, the right orientation to do billing, then your time up front is a lot more than it would be on the back end if you have to chase all of these denials. So how do you avoid denied claims, right? So let's say you have a biller who's wearing a bunch of hats, right? They're office manager, they answer patient phone calls, the patient intake and billing, and they're just moving too fast. That person can still wear those hats, but I would rather your billing team follow a methodical billing process with regular rhythms, right? Even if you have to say submit claims on Friday, every week on Friday, but your biller is doing that front part of this process. I'm going to go back for a minute. Let's say you do claim submission here on Fridays, but you're spending Monday through Thursday on, let's say, these other parts of the process, but you know that by the time you get to Friday, your claims are crystal clean, right? I don't think that's the phrase. I think it's crystal clear, but regardless, you all get the point. You're submitting claims that are good, and you know you're going to get paid for those. I would rather that than frantic activity. And then I want you to complete payment posting first and aging follow-up activity before you submit anything. And I think documenting, securing denials, insurance shenanigans on all of your current claims, and then resolving them second is really important before you get to claim submission. I know how it feels, right? If we don't submit claims, we don't get paid. But if you do it clean the first time, you get paid a lot cleaner and your revenue is a lot stickier versus having to clean up a giant billing mess. So that's how you avoid those denied claims. And here's what effective billing should smell like, what it should look like. You should have a low denial rate, not zero. That'd be very good. Ideally, it would be zero, but a low denial rate. So 2 to 5% would be good. Some of the payers in the country, I'm in Michigan, I'm in Detroit. There are some insurance companies in Michigan that are denying 30% of claims, right? And the other part of the behind the scenes at the insurance company is that they don't deny the various potential claim denial reasons on a claim, that deny individual factors on a claim. So let's say that I have an address wrong, I have a date of birth wrong, I have a diagnosis that's wrong, and the CPT code is wrong. They won't tell me all 4 denials. They'll tell me one denial, you fix it, submit, denied for number 2, fix it, submit, denial for number 3. And then you kind of rinse that process. And so we want to make sure that you're going to get denials regardless because you all are in practice working with insurance companies. But if you follow a clear prescribed system, you should have a low denial rate. You also want to have a high first pass rate and claim acceptance rate. So what I'm saying there is that your claim rejections, which is that part of the roadmap there before the claim even gets to the payer, that should be very low, right? 1%, hopefully, that on the first submission, your claims go straight to the payer. We also want low aging claim value over 60 days. So I think there was a study done years ago, maybe before 2019 even, that said something like if 20% of your claim value was over 120 days, you were doing really well. And I challenge that number. I think that number is extremely high. For a lot of you, I'd love to see your aging stop after 60 days. I know that's not always possible. We're dealing with people and insurance companies and bureaucracy, but I think that's a good metric to hold your billing department accountable to and incentivize them toward, right? If you know your cash flow, what you bill is what you collect within that 60-day report, you're doing very, very well. And speaking of cash flow, we definitely would like predictable cash flow. Low stress, right? There's an intangible here for how managing billing and managing denial should look like. You should be able to put your head on your pillow at the end of the day, knowing that your team knows what they're doing tomorrow to fix any of these issues. If that's not you, I'd love to chat a little bit more about how to get your team there. No clinician complaints, right? Sometimes clinicians complain about where is this claim, or I see this claim denied, or what's taking so long, or my patient got a bill 3 months later, which nobody wants, by the way. But if you have an effective billing team, those go down. No biller turnover. Billers turnover. Sorry to say, I hope that's not big news. But if you have an in-house biller, sometimes they're going to turn over. One of the ways you can prevent them from turning over is by having a repeatable system where they know what to expect. We've been hiring billers for 10 years. Billers love knowing what's happening the next day. They love clarity, they love consistency, they love rhythm. If you can provide that to them, you have a much better chance of them sticking around for the long term. And then no patient complaints, right? The worse that the billing system is on the back end or even on the front end, sometimes trust walks right out the door. And we certainly do not want trust to walk out the door because of the billing team. We do not want to be responsible for that. How do I know when my billing needs help? Review your KPIs. You want to look at your revenue trends. You want to look at your aging report, your first pass rate, your denial rate, and then how much time are you sinking into billing? I like to tell practice and agency folks that if you are spending a lot of time with a support structure, and no doubt about it, billing is an important support structure because we deal with revenue. But if it's consuming an outsized part of your calendar, I would challenge that something might be wrong, right? Because you should be doing things that move the company forward. And we want to make sure that you are doing the things in the life of the practice that are only the things that you can do. Billing is something you can outsource, and waking up at 2, 3, 4 a.m. to do billing is not sustainable. I know it can be fun, hopefully, but that's an intangible. So we have a couple of resources for you. I'm actually going to come back to this one really quick. This is kind of in addition to the presentation here, but recently the insurance companies had to post their rates on their websites, but they did so in machine readable files, so they're not really readable, so they're not really transparent. So we decoded this, and so you can look up other people's rates now in order to help leverage your rate negotiations, help benchmark where you are. And I did a little cursory research here before our presentation, and there are 2 agencies in Wisconsin. Agency A here is doing okay with a 90837, but Agency B, which you'll see in a minute, same size, same location, same number of clinicians, same taxonomy, same payer, is getting paid $20 or $30 less per session. And we want to make that data available to you. And so we're giving folks on the webinar a little bit of a discount here. But the Hourglass is our digital platform that you can use to take out all of our billing tools, all of our billing systems, educational articles. We're also coming out with a series, Get Yourself Credentialed, if you have problems with credentialing, and of course, rate comparison to look up rates across the country or even in your state with certain payers. So there's that QR code for you as well. So that was just an addition. Thank you for being here on the webinar. But that's the whole shebang, and I would love to answer questions. I think pass the ball back here to Stacy, yeah? Or Katie.
No, Katie.
Katie, yes.
Yeah. Stacy's like, please, no, I don't know billing. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to post them in the Q&A. I did post one in there, so hopefully it'll kind of alert y'all to where it is. Sometimes Q&A might act a little wonky, so if you can't find it, feel free to pop your question in the chat. But in both places, do keep HIPAA, PHI, all of that good stuff in mind. Okay. All right, so let's see. So we have, I think this one's more of a comment, but it's from Amy. She says, I work for a community mental health company. We just implemented Epic in April 2025, and it's a mess. I'm the Medicaid biller, so I post the payments and work the denials. We have 6 different counties, and Medicaid is our primary source of income. Aging is a nightmare. Less than 1 month ago, I had over $250,000 in unpaid claims because of denials.
Oh my word. Yeah, I agree with Robin's question here. What were the reasons for the denial? So Amy, do you want to, we can totally workshop this if you're willing to be in the hot seat, but Amy, are you still here? Maybe
And then she
not.
posted that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, totally understandable. That is the, oh, there you are. Perfect. Yeah, once Amy, you pop on here, let us know. But that's the exact situation I would love for everyone here to avoid. I mean, that's a lot of zeros when you add in what you're supposed to get paid for that many claims.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Amy, if you have any like specific denial reasons you want to pop in there, let us know. In the meantime, we'll go to some other questions, but I will keep an eye on that chat.
Amazing.
Let's see. So, across the practices that you work with, which of these denial reasons, like of these top 7, do you see most frequently?
So the top 2 that we see for practices coming in, because once we implement our system of revenue cycle management, it reduces all of these, and they're able to grow and expand and then take billing back in house. But the top 2 we see are timely filing, which is really unfortunate. Timely filing is where your contract says you have a certain amount of time between the service that you provide and when you submit the claim before the claim becomes ineligible for payment. So oftentimes it's 90 days, 120 days, or a year. And so the top reason is people, clinicians don't get their notes done on time, or the biller forgets to submit claims, or there's no system in place, or billing is done sporadically. And we end up writing off tens of thousands of dollars because we simply can't collect it, right? That's not Practice Solutions, or even if all of you have a biller that's writing off timely filing denials, and that's not them not doing their job necessarily. That's them saying we can't actually recover this revenue. So you did the work, you did the marketing, you went to school, you got licensed, you onboarded the client, and then you don't get paid for it. So it's just you doing pro bono work. So if your EHR requires a note, please get it done on time. The faster you do that, the better. And then for Checkpoint anyway, those claims go out immediately. For other EHRs, you're going to have to be far more disciplined. And then duplicate claims is I can do billing, I can submit a claim, and then you get 10 or 11 duplicate claim denials in, and all of a sudden you have to wade through the concrete of trying to find the original denial and then fix the original denial with that denial's claim number. And then you have to track the new bouncing ball to make sure it gets resolved. You can do that. You can do that very effectively and efficiently if you have the right system and the right orientation and the right person in the organization. And if not, it's going to get gummed up. So those are the top 2. We also, I mean, we see medical necessity. Payers like to throw that one around. Prior authorization is up there, but I think those two are the biggest for sure.
Okay, great. Let's see. So we got some responses from Amy. So she said diagnosis is a really big issue. A primary payer that suddenly showed up even after coverage was verified, and then roll-up claims cause a big problem.
Yeah, and I see that duplicate claims, invalid modifier, non-covered charge. I mean, yeah, I mean all those are really tough. And so one of the things you can do, especially if you're the biller, I know this is a challenging place to be, especially for Amy, if you are the sole biller or on a team of billers, you have to be able to track modifier changes. So if anybody here is from Missouri, Optum just changed all the modifiers this year, right? This happens all the time. So payers change modifiers, they change how they want to see claims, and so you have to be really diligent as you track which payers you're with. So this is another strategic high level. Well, this is not a like actionable thing, but when you look at how many payers you're in network with, the more payers, the more complexity. The more complexity, the harder it is to track. And so I would recommend if you can, it's not always the case, if you can simplify your payer list, that is going to help out not only your organization, your credentialing, your billing. That's a good way to streamline things.
Yeah. And I know
Yeah.
like switching systems too, like it sounds like you just did that fairly recently. I can't stress enough, like make sure you know that billing flow, right?
Yeah.
I've been in the provider world and we switched EHRs and there are all these magical places that claims could hide. So yeah, I'll definitely recommend that as well. Let's see, we have a question from Shelly. They said, how are you handling denials for discrepancies surrounding provider credentialing with PNM and individual MCO?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Can you read that question just one more time?
Sure. How are you handling denials for discrepancies surrounding provider credentialing with PNM and individual MCOs?
Yeah, so individual managed care organizations. Yeah, that's a good question. So who asked that question?
Shelly.
All right, Shelly, are you willing to jump on or no? I have some clarifying questions.
She said, from Ohio specifically.
From Ohio specifically, okay. Yeah, I'd want to know, I have some questions about how they're credentialed. So were the claims seen, yeah, how was the provider credentialed? Who's primary, who's secondary? What's the denial reason for, oh, we'll start here. What's the denial reason that you're reading and who is it from? So, yeah, I would love to know the answer to that question. That's a very complicated question, but I'll do my best to answer. Yeah, that's very tricky. And I think we had another question from Savannah, right?
Yes. Yep. She said, I have a question that is in relation to Medicaid claims that later are found to have commercial coverage. When you
Yeah.
reverse the Medicaid claim and build a commercial, would the secondary claim be billed to Medicaid be sent as a replacement claim?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, very good question. So when you bill to commercial, first of all, you have to void the Medicaid claim. So I'm assuming you billed Medicaid, then you found out later they had a commercial plan. So you have to avoid the Medicaid claim. Then you add the commercial insurance with Medicaid as a secondary, submit the commercial as a primary, and then you don't have to submit the Medicaid as a replacement. You just submit it as a secondary claim with the EOB. But I think the question there is you have to void out the initial submission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or else you'll get that duplicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have one from Robin. It said, as a compliance officer, I'm constantly involved in the review of new rules, etc., updates to payers. Also focus becoming on working with our registration staff to clean up claims before they go
Oof.
out.
Yeah, that's a rough role there for sure. Patient registration is really important. We have to make sure that you have all of the necessary information on the front end. So we're just in Chicago presenting at a conference, and whatever color, like if we think about patient registration as like the headwaters of a river, whatever color dye you pour at patient registration, and I'm going to say nothing that's surprising, but that's the same color you get at the end of the river. And so patient registration is really critical. But I also think, and I'd love Robin's feedback on this, I think you can train your billing team as well to check for what is supposed to be present. And I know that's kind of a trick, and I know that it's duplicate work in some ways, but I think having redundancy, like quality assurance redundancies where you're double checking the information on claims is not the worst. And I think that we want to make sure we're sending the cleanest claims we can. And obviously, like for example, we have commercial insurance popping up when we have Medicaid, and that's the coordination of benefit issue that we talked about at the top. But yeah, I think making sure that we have checks in place that make sure that claims go out is a really important variable here.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And it looks like we have a lot of folks from Ohio because we have some similar comments and folks
Yeah,
saying me
great.
too. Yeah. So going back to Shelly, who was asking about the PNM and discrepancy with provider credentialing. She said PNM is Medicaid's system for credentialing. Then that information goes from Ohio Department of Medicaid to each individual managed care. The claims go to the managed care, and then they are denying for several reasons, but all stem from the fact that the MCO is saying the provider is not credentialed for the licensure they have.
Sounds like a data transfer problem to me. I'm not involved in that issue. Like I obviously can't fix that for you, but that does sound like a mess. Is that my one thought is if there's a systemic wide issue translating credentialing information from PNM to the MCOs in Ohio, is that something that we should maybe call the insurance commissioner about, or is there somebody on the PNM side or MCO side that can figure that out? I mean, it seems like there should be some regulatory issues there. I don't know if that's something your biller is going to be able to sort out for you. I know that presents a lot of issues for a lot of you practices, because if you're not getting paid for those claims, but you have a duty to continue care, you're basically working for free. So you're really in a tough spot from that perspective. I see Robin's comment. There are advocacy groups working on it. This reminds me a lot of the TRICARE issue. I'm sure a lot of you experienced this when TRICARE East moved to West. We have a client that didn't get paid for 18 months because of that issue. They went all of last year and the first part of this year not getting paid. Which from me to you, I don't understand how that's not like a major lawsuit waiting to happen. But yeah, that sounds like something that PNM and the MCOs are really struggling to handshake on. I'm not really sure what your biller is going to be able to do to sort that out for sure. Yeah, I wish I could give you a better answer though.
Yeah, and we've seen that too with a couple of our Ohio providers. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that's a tough spot. But yeah, like check with that, like definitely check the PNM, right? Make sure that's accurate. And then yeah, you kind of got to work between them to get their system straight.
I guess, yeah, the best thing you could do there too, I'm just thinking about it while you were talking there, Katie. All of you should be documenting those. I'm sure you all are, but making sure you're documenting those denials. You're able to prove the credentialing information is accurate in PNM. And then when the data issue gets sorted out, you'd want to absolutely make sure that you don't get a timely filing denial. That would be my primary concern, is that the MCOs say, well, we never got this claim, or they would deny it for some other reason. I would be really quick to even draw up some appeal documentation or letters on all the claims that all of you are getting. I mean, if all of you are experiencing this issue, we're probably talking about thousands of claims per month. And so I would start doing some of your own advocacy there too, but I would start documenting a lot of those denials, making sure that you can prove the credentialing information was accurate and that denial was errant. You could start by submitting appeals already. I'm sure a lot of you are submitting appeals, but that's going to get the MCO's attention as you start to file those, because all those denials sound like they're errant. And the insurance companies are not going to like processing thousands of appeals for the same data issue. So you could start there.
To avoid that timely filing would, it sounds like the issue is between like the PNM and it flowing down to the MCO. Like if they're seeing that it is credentialed in the PNM but not the MCO, would you recommend that they still submit that claim in order to, like, it'll get denied, but then when it comes to the timely filing, to make sure they do get it in there in time so the appeal, doesn't get denied for something else?
Yeah, that's so frustrating. I hear that and I think about that from the life of the clinician, and I just think like that's ridiculous. But I do think that that's good guidance to, if you know the credentialing information is accurate, I would submit it to get the denial just to prove that you submitted it the first time, and then start drawing up appeal information And it's just wild.
Okay, we got a question from Shelby. She said, how are we navigating duplicate denials with the best approach?
Yeah, good question, Shelby. So duplicate claims, you have to go back to the original denial. So making sure you have the original denial claim number, you have the original EOB or ERA on hand with the original denial reason, and then fixing whatever the original issue is. Now, if we're talking about the PNM MCO issue, I would hold on to the ERA, EOB with the denial with providers' credentials are inaccurate, and then when you file an appeal, include that as an attachment to the MCO. If you're talking about duplicate denials for other reasons, right? Prior authorization, coding, CPT stuff, then you have to correct the claim and send it in. But you can't correct a duplicate claim denial without correcting the original, which is why it takes so long to fix those.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let's see. When you first start working with a practice, what are some of the most common billing mistakes that you see right away?
Yeah, that's a good question, Katie. I think one of the biggest mistakes is not knowing your numbers. So not looking at aging reports as a best practice, not being aware of where the money is going. That would be one. Second is getting your notes done on time. We see this. This is a broad strokes issue nationwide. Clinicians not being quick on documentation, and then claim submission gets gummed up. We really would love to see that issue go away in the next 5 years or so. The other issue is, and this is a big one for some of you larger organizations, but not having written policies and procedures. So standard operating procedures or like a billing Bible that if your biller does turn over, you have a system, you have a documented workflow that no matter who does the billing, they can assume the seat and do the job in a way that achieves similar or better results than what you've had before. And so we want to make sure that as you grow and scale to a multi-million-dollar organization, you have redundancies in place, you have systems and processes that anyone can pick up the ball and run with billing, so that if and when your biller does turn over, it's not, it doesn't fall apart. We see that a lot, and that's very, very scary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Looks like we had a little bit more information from Karen. She said, hi, I'm from Ohio and also use the PNM and have similar issues with my care claims. What I've noticed is providers who are originally enrolled with Medicaid at another agency, that agency might have set them up with the incorrect education level, especially for case managers. So we might be using the HO modifier, and PNM has them as something that should be a UK modifier. You will need to check PNM specialty type, education, and taxonomy codes.
Yeah, that's good information. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Ohio has all of those fun modifiers for like education level and stuff like that, and I see that fairly frequently where they're using the HO, but it should be a different modifier, so it's denying for credentialing, but that might not necessarily be the issue. It's just you need a different modifier. Check that as well. Ashley said, what about duplicate denials for roll-up issues? Example, an in-person versus telehealth. Per the Ohio Behavioral Health Manual, these do not roll, but we get hundreds of duplicate denials that then have to be appealed. So it's the MCO system, not us. Is anyone else experiencing this issue?
Yeah, I would appeal those and send in the Ohio manual, the behavioral health manual for sure. And it's a lot of work appealing. I'm sure that there's a way to use an AI tool. I don't know about HIPAA, but I'm sure there's a way to appeal those, but I would absolutely appeal those and track them very diligently so that you know that they get resolved for sure.
And is that something, so like as Practice Solutions is working with providers and you're seeing a systemic issue like that, are the appeals something that Practice Solution handles for the provider, or do you kind of help guide them through that process?
No, that's something we handle in-house for sure. It's one of the primary value propositions that an outsourced biller offers, and Checkpoint's like this too, but we're also on a we only eat when you eat sort of basis in terms of charging. So we charge a percentage, and um, appeals is a really motivating workflow when it's holding up revenue. So especially if it impacts our revenue directly, we're pretty dogged about following up on those. For what you all are seeing here, I mean, we really got to appeal those with a significant amount of discipline. But I also think if there's a spreadsheet, a tool, like we use a claim management spreadsheet for all of the practices that we work with so that we can track to see what's going on per claim, per line item. I would recommend implementing something like that in the life of all of your organizations to make sure you have the right information. Um, I also think for something as widespread as what you all are dealing with, I do think it's worth getting either a Medicaid director or commissioner involved and finding out what is the update. Because if it is this widespread, it's going to impact the care for a lot of your patients, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Let's see. LaShawn Robinson said, "What is the best report to draft in Checkpoint?" Oh, hey, welcome. Thanks for joining. To draft in Checkpoint, to look at your company's performance and billing notes or any report that is super important from your perspective. I'm relatively new to Checkpoint. So I'll have your customer success rep get with you directly. But just to answer it quickly for you, we do have a claims accounting report that'll be your best friend. So I think, might be a little biased, but I think our reporting is really robust. And there's all kinds of great information that you can get from those reports. But I'll have your rep connect with you directly and we can look at exactly like what your workflow is and what you're wanting to see and kind of help you navigate through that. Let's see. Checking the other avenues. Karen followed up and said, "We do appeal when the duplicate is same client, same day, different provider, different NPIs. There's no mechanism to escalate with Medicaid Ohio to talk to directors. We have the call center and you can send the IHD email, but that's all."
Oof. Karen, yeah, I'm curious. There's no ombudsman, no enforcement agency in Ohio that governs the insurance company. I know a lot of other states have some. I don't know why they call it an ombudsman. I guess that's the term they use. But there's usually an office of somebody who enforces insurance companies and regulates them. So yeah, maybe you can't talk to the Medicaid director directly, but there should be a regulatory body that governs the MCOs themselves. Like, for example, they all have to adhere, well, commercial or government, they all have to adhere to NCQA standards, or they lose their licensure to do business in that state. No, not for Medicaid. There's a place to file complaints on insurance, but it's a state. Oh, that sounds helpful. I keep going. Yeah, keep filing complaints. I think the only other recommendation, I'm not a lawyer, but it might be worth talking to an attorney about this because they're holding up your revenue. They're also holding up services. But yeah, it sounds like the Ohio Council is doing some really, really good stuff. But yeah, that's really tricky, you all. I'm really sorry you're dealing with this stuff. Yeah, do your best to continue. Yeah.
And Willem, I'll say after too, I'll poke around. We have some folks in Ohio as well, so I'll ask them if they've had any success, and maybe we can include some like information or contacts for you in that follow-up email because it sounds like we have a lot of Ohio people here. But yeah, check out, see if we can get anything for you. All right, let's see. So I'm not seeing more questions. Okay, yeah, so I'm not seeing any more questions. I still have some time, so if you want to post in anything there. Yeah, nope. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, it sounds like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to the Ohio Council to find out some more information about this and see if there's anything that Practice Solutions can do to help advocate and push this forward. Yeah, it seems very frustrating. I can't imagine being in your shoes, having to deal with a data issue at this scale. It's unbelievable.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so if people want to get in touch with Practice Solutions, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website at practicesol.com. That QR code will take you to our website. We also have a podcast, The Claim Game, where we interview people from CMS and other organizations. We also do episodes on best practices. Last Friday, we had an episode release. We talked to Amy Turner, who's a director at CMS. She's running the Wiser model, which is the foundational model to hopefully drive forward the gold carding idea to exempt certain providers from prior authorization completely. It was a really interesting episode, and Amy's a wealth of information. We're going to see what the results of that are. But yeah, the website is a great place, a great resource for you. The Hourglass has a bunch of our billing tools and rate comparison tools as well. And you can reach out to our team there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. Again, we always appreciate you hopping on these webinars for us. Yeah, the recording will be sent out after this email, or after this email. It'll be sent in an email after this webinar. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or curious about Checkpoint or Practice Solutions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, we'll hope you join us for the next one.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.